Hey everybody, this is Verso over at the Edge of Casual, and I'm here with Crusader Kings III. This is a game that I played a ton of, like back when it first released. I got pretty good at it, if I do say so myself, but I'm bad at it now because I haven't played it in a really long time, but I spent a lot, as I said, a lot of time with it, probably too much. Like I remember many sleepless nights, like literally sleepless probably, much to the annoyance of my family. Anyway, moving on. This is footage that I recorded earlier today, and I intend this to be sort of like, it's not quite a tutorial, not a let's play. I'm doing a commentary track on what I recorded earlier. I'm going to try to only include the important bits. It's kind of how I'm starting a game right now. I'm starting a new game, and what I usually like to do is just start a game with a smaller country, like a smaller chiefdom, doesn't have much hope of survival, and just see if I can get them to planetary dominance. Actually, I don't even really like the planetary dominance stuff. If I could just dominate a region, that would be good. But then the game kind of paints you into a corner with dominating your neighbors, like where you almost have to do it, or else somebody bigger is going to come along and conquer you. It's maybe not the most realistic thing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure in what universe you have like one country that tries to dominate the entire planet. It's just not feasible. But in Crusader Kings, it happens all the time. Anyway, moving on, I went ahead and created a custom character, and I did make her heterosexual because I just didn't want to deal with the malice to fertility that you get from doing like a homosexual character. I'm not sure if bisexual deals with that as well. But anyway, I kept it simple. I made her 21 years old just to get like a long lifespan out of her. And I gave her an education focus, even though I kind of wanted to go military in the beginning, but I wanted to sort of split my time between military and diplomacy. Diplomacy is going to be sort of like a larger career arc, assuming she survives long enough to pursue that. But and I also wanted the plus 20 to independent ruler opinion from that other trait, so that's why I went with that. And then I just tried to get as many points as I could. I don't know if these stats were necessarily good, but they're fine. I think they're fine. I wasn't trying to make it hard for myself. I mean, I think it's already hard enough just taking the independent Chiefdom of Cherven and trying to go anywhere with it, especially when all of your neighbors are stronger than you. So yeah, first thing first, when you start a new game, this much I did remember, you have to select your lifestyle. And even though I have the bonus speed to diplomacy from my education background, I wanted to start with military. I think the dread gain is useful if you use it, and control growth was also useful. But also too, I wanted I forget what it is. It's the forced marching or whatever it is, which allows you to move your units a lot faster. That can win so many wars. It's extremely useful. It's like the one thing that I have to have on almost every ruler. Of course, I took defensive negotiations as well, because being able to get that one free alliance just through diplomacy is an amazing boon later in the game. Not so much at the beginning. You still have that short-term, the short reign malice, which means that nobody likes you, and in general, just nobody likes you, especially if you're a female in this region of the world, or any region of the world, in this time period anyway. Nobody likes you. So moving on from that, I was just kind of assessing my situation, taking a look at what I could do. I noticed I could declare some wars, but really I think we're at the chiefdom stage. You can declare any war that you want to, so it doesn't really matter, just wars of conquest to take counties whenever you feel like it. I was looking to check out my roster of knights, and I didn't have any good ones, but as it turned out, I had a guest who was pretty decent, so I went ahead and paid him his 7 gold to join my court. And also here, I was noticing that my religious figure liked me, actually, surprisingly, but also that his skills were bad, like he had a 0 for learning. But then I kind of recalled that this game was a little quirky, it's a little buggy before you unpause it. And I remember that a bunch of the stats get a little bit messed up. So that changes later, whereas it turns out his learning was actually decent enough and he disliked me. But looking around, my council was pretty bad, especially my marshal. I knew I needed to replace him right away. Luckily, I had a steward on hand. Actually, I think it was the guy I just purchased for 7 gold. So he's got good prowess, and he was a pretty decent steward, so I went ahead and put him in the role. And then I realized I had to prioritize getting a new marshal, so that was like, I think the first thing that I did was to just check out which unmarried courtiers I had, female courtiers, and just see if I could get them married to, well, a new chancellor first of all, and a new marshal, somebody with high skills. Oh, actually, first thing I did was to get a court physician. And this interface has changed a little bit since the last time I played. I know that learning was always kind of what you wanted for a good court physician, so I didn't really have somebody with good aptitude, and I'm not sure how that stat is calculated, the aptitude stat. It says she's poor, but she had good learning, so I'm hoping that she kind of grows into the role, that she levels up and gets some useful skills. I just put her in there, I'm risking it. The other ones I wasn't as sure about. The Antiquarian, I didn't have anybody good to fill that role, so I just left it empty for now, and I don't really know much about artifacts. I know I don't have any. And then the Seneschal looks like something that would be useful to have, and actually I had somebody who had a good aptitude for it, so I went ahead and put her in there, and hopefully that all works out. So as I said, the best way that I know to get new courtiers into your chiefdom is through marriage. So just find yourself an unmarried female. And here I was just checking to make sure that I couldn't have females in these positions. And you can't have females on your council. I don't know if you ever can. I think maybe it's in some later stages with certain government types of religions, I forget. But yeah, so it needed to be a female. And I needed to just kind of take what I could get. Luckily, I found some pretty decent characters. Arranging marriages is actually one of my favorite things to do in this game. I try to never have an unmarried courtier. I always make sure that as soon as somebody is betrothing age, I get them settled up with somebody who can benefit me. And you definitely have to make sure to check that matrilineal box so that after the marriage, your courtier does not go off and live somewhere else, because then you're just helping somebody else, doing a favor for some other person in a different kingdom. So here I was trying to find a marshal, but this guy just had generally good stats. So anyway, so I went ahead and picked him. And I mean, he wasn't the best marshal out there, but I think he wasn't a terrible marshal, and he was definitely better than the one that I had. And then after that, I went trying to find a good chancellor, and I was looking at this one, and she made me laugh because I was looking at her and she looked so sweet. Like, I don't know, I just liked her face. Very shallow. I always try to set my courtiers up with other like nice looking NPCs, but it just made me laugh that she was deceitful and a lunatic. She didn't look like it, but I still wanted to find her somebody nice anyway. I wanted to find her a nice boy to marry, so that's what I prioritized. I try not to do the thing where like you pick a nice young woman in her prime and then set her up with some, gnarly old man. I don't know why, I just feel bad about it. I'm not that kind of a ruler. Then finally I was looking for another knight, like somebody, a good warrior. So I sorted by prowess. And I really lucked out, actually. The guy that I found, Sviatoslav, was like a beast. And I mean, he has a high prowess. And when I actually put him to the test in some wars later on, like some battles, he was like a killing machine. So this is why you want to marry off all of your courtiers, right? And also, too, so that they have kids and they bring like new blood into the kingdom. I only had him in there by a +1, so I almost couldn't recruit him. So luckily, I don't know what put me over, but I got pretty lucky there. So I just kind of went around assessing my neighbors. And what I noticed was that a lot of them are fielding like light footmen, which are skirmishers. So I wanted to prioritize getting bowmen. Also, when I was shocked when I looked at my military. I had the weakest military on the block by far. I was going to get crushed immediately if anybody tried to start anything with me. So I made sure to get some bowmen in there to counter the skirmishers. And then when I went looking, I noticed that a lot of people were also fielding these sort of like these heavy infantry guys, these guys. So I got as well some skirmishers of my own to just combat them. So at this point in the game, I'm kind of looking like, who are going to be my rivals in this vicinity? Who are going to be the guys that I don't want to mess with, and I want to be allies with them, and who are going to be at my level that I could conceivably take them out in a fight. And this guy looked pretty weak. I thought I could take him if I needed to. So as soon as I had a capable army, I was going to go out, pillaging with my raiding army. And also too, I needed to make that marriage arrangement right away. So as soon as I kind of figure out who's who in the neighborhood, that was my next order of business, was just finding a suitable marriage, a suitable husband for my character. So at the beginning of the game, basically your only option is to marry for an alliance. And usually you're just trying to do the least amount of damage, like get the least worst person. The game was kind of considerate to me in that respect, and that they gave me a nice 15-year-old boy who was not terrible. He didn't have terrible traits, terrible personality. He was also the son of, I think, the Chieftain of Minsk or something like that, which is one of the better armies in the vicinity. So it worked out. It worked out pretty well. And he's even kind of cute. I'll say it. He's a little cute, I guess. He's not horrible anyway. He's not a toad. His skills are bad. His martial skill is terrible. But actually, he's okay. Later on, I'm going to press for much better marriages with beautiful people with great congenital traits that can be passed on to their offspring. But at the beginning, you just take what you can get, and I was pretty lucky to get a pretty good one. Alright, so I finally unpaused the game, get all those marriages taken care of, start assigning people to their positions. This is definitely one of those games where you win or lose the game based upon what you do before you unpause it. And it's just like that. And I forgot, it took me a while to acclimate myself again. I had to actually play the tutorial because I was so rusty that I completely forgot almost everything about the game. I hope I didn't make any huge mistakes. But if anybody ever watches this and notices that I did something super dumb, feel free to let me know, I guess. But probably I would have noticed it myself after playing a little bit more. So yeah, just getting people assigned. As it turned out, I had somebody else. I was planning to put Yefimini, whatever his name is, Yefimi, in my martial spot. But as it turned out, I had got somebody else in a marriage arrangement. I didn't even realize he was a better marshal, so I went with him instead. Yefimi is now just a guy who lives in my kingdom, in my chiefdom, who hates me. It is what it is. He's ambitious. It's one of the reasons I don't like having ambitious characters. They hate you. It's just an automatic -15 to their, I think it's -15, to what they think about you, just because they're jealous of you and everything you have. And that kind of took care of that. I mean, having even 2 good knights, or at least pretty good knights, is enough to get you started. Hopefully I'll get more later. You could always invite them. You could always invite some champions, but I think with what I had, I was good to go. And one of the benefits of putting your marshal on training duty is that they'll often turn up knights for you. I just keep calling them knights, but I guess at this stage they're really warriors, or I don't know, reavers. And anyway, they'll turn up fighters for you who are pretty good. So I wasn't really sure that I was making any sense when I gave my character prowess at the beginning of the game and the character creation, but as it turned out, she was fighting in a lot of those battles. Later on when I go to war and start fighting battles, she was there and taking injuries at the same time. So it was a good thing that I had her there, actually. I think there's probably a way to not have her engage in battle, but I forget what it is. It's probably not worth risking it, but she was actually doing pretty well. So at this point, I'm just going around looking at my neighbors, seeing who's got good armies, seeing who I might want to try to sway over to my side at some point. Most of my neighbors surprisingly kind of liked me, which is weird, because I thought they usually hate you at the beginning of the game. But they still don't want to be my ally. Even just, they've got a -25 to their base, your base reputation with them. And that's really difficult to overcome. So even if you get your relationship up to 100 with them, it's still difficult to get past that, because just the way the math, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how the math is working under the hood, but it's hard to get people to like you enough. But if I see somebody who looks like it could be a good potential ally, and here I am just kind of looking at who's in the area and sorting them by military strength to see who might make a good ally. So yeah, I'm going to butter up these people. I'm going to start a sway scheme on them and make them like me as much as possible, even just for the purpose of them not declaring war on me. Or I'm not sure how much that really factors into their decision to declare war on you. I think if you have what they want, even if you're best friends with them, they'll still, well, maybe not best friend, but even if they like you a lot, they'll still declare war on you. So I went back and forth on it a lot. I kind of want this guy's territory, but at the same time, he's very strong, and I'm not going to be dealing with him for a long time, so I think I decided he was the one that I was going to start kissing up to. I already have an alliance with Minsk, and I think like if I have an alliance with Minsk, and I also get Verso or whatever it's called, I'm just gonna understand now. I will mispronounce the name of every single country. You can see like he's not going to accept an alliance with me. He doesn't, even though he likes me, he doesn't like me enough. I'm not sure exactly how to get him there. I still think it's worth starting a sway scheme against him right away, just so he doesn't look too hungrily at your lands. And be like, I hate that person, I'm going to take their stuff. I always take in new courtiers whenever they show up. You know, like these wanderers that show up on your doorstep begging for a home. I don't see any downside to it, really. They're usually very grateful that you take them in. And if nothing else, it usually provides you more marriage fodder, where you can get somebody more desirable in. I mean, these are 2 kids that I can marry off at some point and bring somebody good into my chiefdom. Plus, you get a favor on them. No downside to it, really. I mean, unless they're just really terrible personalities and they're going to scheme against you. So you can see the stats have sort of changed on this guy now, and now he's got an 11 for learning and a -1 from his opinion of me. I'm not sure what else has changed, but that one definitely changed, and I was very confused about that at the time. Alright, so at this point I was getting a little bit anxious to start like causing some ruckus in my neighborhood. So I was checking my military strength to see like how my men-at-arms were building up, and I noticed that one of my neighbors was going pillaging, which put me a little bit on edge. As soon as I had like a full-strength military, I knew it would be time to go out, burning to the ground the surrounding cities outside of my own chiefdom. I received a wood carving of a miniature castle from the guy that the neighboring ruler that I'm swaying. Not sure. I think it's just, it's just a stewardship bonus, I guess, for 30 years. Not bad. I suppose that means that my sway scheme is going according to the plan. The inventory stuff is new. I haven't read up on it. It wasn't in the game when I played it originally, so I don't know anything about it, unfortunately. I'm going to have to study up on that. So this guy started looking pretty weak to me. Now that my military was getting somewhere and I knew I had a couple of good knights, I was checking out this guy to see if he had any alliances, and he doesn't. Plus he had been recently raided, so I knew he'd be sort of on the back foot, a little bit weaker. So it seemed like a pretty good time to muster my ranks and send them pillaging. Military engagements are always a risk. Even if you think you have the superior military force, you can get demolished by something unexpected, like somebody having an insanely good knight, or just more knights than you. The knights are everything. The infantry is nothing in this game. Even men-at-arms are like nothing compared with the knights. So yeah, just going around checking alliances, making sure I don't pick on somebody who can then declare war on me and bring like a bigger ally to bear on my poor little pathetic force. I was starting to get a little nervous here, like I was watching all of these regional conflicts play out, like that one beneath me to the south. And there was a lot of that going on. And I'm just sitting here with my piddly little like 820 army force. But I felt like I could defend from most of my neighbors, but I didn't want to push it too much. I didn't want to test my limits. So one of the cool things you can do in this game is capitalize on your enemies just being dumb, making mistakes. Like this guy should not have come at me in my own territory. I know these woods. You don't stand a chance. I've got a better force. Like this wasn't even close. He only had 1 champion and I had 7. So I'm not sure what's going on with my husband. He's very suspicious. He doesn't have the paranoid trait or anything like that. In fact, it looks like he's trusting, so I have no idea what his issue was. As far as I'm aware, that's his kid. There's a good example of numbers not always being the deciding factor. So this guy was pillaging my city. I took a look at his forces. I noticed he only had 4 champions. I noticed his men-at-arms, like he didn't have a counter for my bowmen. So I took him on, and I defeated him handily, and got some really good experience for my characters, my knights, my warriors. Champions, whatever you call them. At this point, I'm role-playing a character who's going to make the fewest dumb decisions possible. She knows she's in a very tenuous position, being a female, not having a live heir yet. She's very susceptible to scheming against her. She's not gonna court that sort of attention by having a dalliance with some courtier. Alright, so this guy is on the back foot now. I just defeated him handily in my own territory. He's licking his wounds. My characters didn't really take too much damage in the process, so he's looking pretty vulnerable now. I've got a good force behind me. So I've got a good force of soldiers under me, and he brought this on himself. I'm gonna go after his territory now. I'm going to soften him up first, and then I'm going to go after his territory. You kind of have to move real fast at the beginning of the game. I mean, that's when most of the interesting things happen. It's like everybody's small, everybody's kind of vulnerable, and if you don't move quickly, somebody will take advantage of your laziness and come into your territory and just mess you up. So yeah, time to declare war. I didn't even feel like I needed to bring my ally into this because I thought this was going to be easy. I just kind of wrecked him in that battle. I knew he was back, like recovering from his injuries. I hoped that I could finish the siege before he could recover. And it was pretty close. I don't think I did. I think he got there before I finished, but we'll see what happens. It was a little risky, but not that risky, because at this point I knew I had a better army. And he wasn't gonna like put together a better army in the few seconds in between the last, well, whatever, I guess in game terms, like the few months between the last defeat and me trying to take his territory. So as I said, your marshal will periodically find you good recruits from within your own kingdom, just, you know, peasants, random peasants that he finds, and they're almost always worth taking. Sieges go really slowly in this game. Later in the game, I try to always make sure that I have at least one like military commander who has the siege bonus, like the whatever bonus it is that speeds up sieges, because otherwise it's really painful to wait for these things to complete. I mean, it's realistic, but it's also painful in game terms. So I had a son, that's good. We named him Constantine. May you grow up to be strong and wise. That's my player heir. Hopefully he turns out to not be a complete disaster. I need to remember next time I play to get him a tutor. I forget exactly how that works when the tutoring starts. Tutoring also kind of a cool way to get people into your they're not on your court, they come in as guests, but yeah, sometimes you can get foreigners into your chiefdom that way. Yeah, so 40 days left. This guy was gonna try his luck, throw his army against my army, and I was sad. I was a little bit concerned about it, that I wasn't going to finish the siege in time and that he would have like home field advantage, but as it turned out, his army was still pretty woefully unprepared. A little dicey at the beginning, but ultimately the balance of power shifted pretty quickly in my favor. I gained the trait wounded, but you know what? It gives you character. Scars give you character. So there's a lot going on that I was kind of ignoring at this point, like prisoners that I was taking, etc. These are matters that I need to think of. Like, I think the prisoners get sent back anyway at the end of the war. I can't remember. No, maybe you keep them. Maybe you keep them, actually. So at this point, I already had like a 75% war score or something like that. So all I really had to do was just sit there, kind of let the numbers tick up until eventually I got to 100%. And that works sometimes. I mean, like after a certain point, some opponents just can't recover in order to get their war score up or to prevent your war score from going up. I forget exactly how it works. But with that said, I knew he was going to come back. It looked like he was coming back. And I knew that at this point I had taken him a few times already, that he wasn't going to stand a chance. So I just thought that play out. At this point, I'm holding this territory, so the advantage is mine. And it was just a complete massacre. His army is decimated. I'm still standing tall. And that was it. Pretty much. 99%, and it went over to 100 pretty much right after that. And that's pretty much that. So now I'm one county richer, I guess, and I've got some other people, and now I've got more like manpower that I can marshal against my neighbors. I've got a good ally. I'm swaying the person directly to the north, who can maybe help me out later if I get an alliance with him. And I think I'm in a pretty strong position just with that one move. So that said, that's where I wanted to end it. I didn't even talk about like de jure duchies or other like justifications for war that I could use. So that's maybe something for another episode. I'm going to leave it there. This has been Verso over at the Edge of Casual. If you watched this to the end, more love to you. I appreciate it. Everybody out there, have a great day.